Welcome to the Blue Water Podcast, where we talk faith, family, and community. I'm Kyle Jones.
And I'm Molly Bowell. Today's episode is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a guest who's not just making waves in the business world, but in life.
That's right. We have Landon Turner with us today. He's the owner of Backwoods Mafia and American Threads. Landon is a local business owner, a man of faith, and he is a leader in this community. Welcome, Landon, to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
We've been wanting to get you on here for a while, and so we have been very excited about this.
So to start us out, Backwoods Mafia.
Right.
The name. That makes people curious.
It
so
does.
Tell us a little bit about the name Backwoods Mafia.
Well, fun fact, that's the question I get the most, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. So really, that name was picked on a car ride to Panama City to play baseball when I was 16. And as I look back at 15-year-old, 16-year-old me, which I still love to hunt and fish. I hunt all the time. I don't fish as much anymore. But my whole personality was somehow around hunting or the outdoors in some extent. And so it somehow just seemed rugged and cool, and it just seemed different. It wasn't like some preppy brand.
It's a cool name.
It wasn't, and so I get people that either hate it or love it. They're like, "Why would I ever wear Mafia on my shirt or hat?" And I'm like, "Okay, I get it." But at the same time, some people are like, "Oh, I like it because it's kind of like politically incorrect. It's different, whatever." So,
well, it's been around for a while, and you were. What did you say? How old were you?
Well, I was 16. So actually, August 10th of next year is 10 years. So that's crazy.
10 years.
What?
Yeah, that's wild. Does not seem real.
So what grade were you in? Your junior?
I was going into my junior year.
So that's whenever Backwoods Mafia started.
Yeah.
That's
Which my
really
first
cool.
customer was Corbin Bodiford, which we graduated together, and he's overseas with the Coast Guard. But he bought my first shirt for $5.
For $5.
Yeah, there wasn't much profit in that shirt, but it was a first sale, and that's all I cared about. So.
Well, I'll embarrass you. I know you're the most humble guy I know, but I know even back in high school, because it took off with a lot of energy behind it. I know all your buddies and all the local high schoolers, they looked at you like, man, he's the richest high schooler I know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Like, people in grades below me thought it was cool, but then it was select few of people in my grade. So you know how that goes.
Well, It probably was jealousy.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was just interesting. Basically, some people peddle fish, and I was a shirt peddler.
So, okay, so just for those, and I think 98% of the community knows exactly what you're doing, but for those that don't, so explain like the exact, because we're going to talk about American Threads too.
Right.
So, but for Backwoods Mafia, what exactly do you focus on with Backwoods Mafia? And then we'll talk about American Threads.
Yeah, so Backwoods Mafia is really, I've realized, it's a very niche market. It's not like a Southern Tide or something like that that's more, universal, but it's really more like your extremely hardcore outdoorsman that's like not just fishing, but they're frog gigging and floundering. Like, you're really hardcore outdoors. And that's okay. At first I was like, how do I grow this into some major mega brand? But the name doesn't really lend itself to that. I mean, you do the Mafia part does kind of limit itself a little bit as far as in the customer.
So it's really hyper.
It's really hyper focused
and local to this, kind of to this
really,
area.
This area, southeast,
yeah,
in this kind of region, yeah.
And I know Molly wants to talk about American Threads as well, but so Backwoods Mafia, the products that come out of we know hats. Tell us what all you do under that.
Yeah, so it's strictly apparel. As an outdoor brand, and that's something that I've tossed around ideas of maybe trying to expand to do some other like actual very niche hunting products with that niche group, because really ever since TikTok, like that whole market has become oversaturated, in my opinion. Like, and it's not a bad thing, but it's just the opportunity has shifted compared to what it was, as far as in there's so many brands now. It almost seems like, how do you actually stand out and be unique? Yeah, I mean, like if you scroll through social media, there's ad after ad of just a hat, and ultimately it's all the same base hat. It's just a different logo.
Yeah.
So what are you actually doing that's different other than hats or shirts? So trying to figure out what that vision looks like for the future.
So I know you said you were 16 on the way to Panama City.
Yeah.
That's when you picked the name Backwoods Mafia.
Right.
Was there a moment, like a specific moment, where you were like, I think I want to start my own business? Like, was there like
Well, I think it was not. I guess I would describe it as I was playing baseball, and there was no time for an after-school job. And then, so I just started selling T-shirts. I just had 50 made, and just started selling them after class. Or like,
did you do the T-shirts before?
Did T-shirts first?
Okay,
right.
T-shirts.
Yeah, so like junior year, we had the homecoming week, and it was Code Red that year. That was our theme. And so I took a bunch of pre-orders, and like the day of, carried a trash bag full of shirts in across my shoulder, and just started passing out T-shirts.
That's so cool.
And so it started out, that way. So yeah.
Okay, so you've been an entrepreneur since day one. Like, you were just selling.
But I didn't start out like, I want to be an entrepreneur. It was just, I guess I just was wanted a way to make some money, but didn't have time for a job, and so I guess that's be a good way to describe
Well, and
it.
what's good about that is what that, there's a lot of 15, 16-year-olds right now out in our community who have a passion for something, who have a dream for something, and they can do that too. And you're one of the few that, I think everybody always has something that we're passionate about.
Right.
But there's really only a select few that have the courage and the boldness to step out there and actually do it. Because when you do it, you may succeed, but you may also fall flat on your face. If I had a nickel for every time I've made a bad decision in business, I'd probably be a lot, probably a millionaire, So I think to me, that's what's impressive about what you've been able to do. So that's Backwoods Mafia.
Right.
So you're the owner, CEO, Backwoods Mafia, based right here in Crawfordville. You do your own production. Everything's right here.
Yeah.
Right down the street, isn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
crazy.
So then American Threads. Tell us about the American Threads and the distinction between the two.
So American Threads was really born out of necessity or demand, would be a good way. And this is where, as I look back in hindsight, God really used COVID as a good blessing, is from a business standpoint in my life, which I know that was a crazy time and a whole lot of stuff there. But during COVID, I only had Backwoods Mafia, and the supply chain got so bad that I couldn't get hats for like 6 months. Like, it got really bad. And how do you cash flow that if you're buying all these, hats embroidered or whatever? And so that became really tough. And so I had this idea, I'll bring production in-house and buy the blank goods, and that'll give me leverage to pivot from design to design, from season to season, because, in the fall, deer hunting apparel sells more than fishing stuff in the spring, etc. And so that kind of gave me leverage to pivot there. And then, so I got a laser and an embroidery machine and brought that in-house. I was making the leather patches and all this kind of stuff, and learning how to sew, trying to figure all this different stuff out. And then people began to just ask me, hey, could you make me 4 or 5 hats for my business and that kind of stuff. And so I was processing everything under Backwoods Mafia, and then somehow word of mouth went along, and I got an order from Duke Energy for some hats. That was my biggest order to date. It was like 300 hats, and I was stoked, right? I mean, so excited. And then I invoiced them, and it was under Backwoods Mafia, and which the guy I was dealing with, he knew about it, so it wasn't a big deal. But there was somebody up that was like, they had to get approval, like, what is this? And so I realized there was confusion there in the corporate world. If you're doing custom stuff, there was the name did not lend to what it was. So that I kept doing that for several months, and then kept running into the same stumbling block with that, and I was like, okay, we got to fix this. And so American Threads was born with that, which American Threads, the name is much more universal to really anybody.
So yeah,
Except for communist,
Backwoods
yeah.
Mafia is a lot cooler
Yeah.
than the name American. I guess you had to kind of.
It's a more universal.
You kind of
name.
had to dull it down a little bit, make
Right.
it a little more boring for the big corporate world.
Yeah, well, it sounds more appealing in
Yeah.
some sense. Yeah.
It's not boring though. American Thread still is cool, but Backwoods Mafia
The Backwoods
definitely
Mafia definitely
has some oomph to
yeah,
it.
and but I can see that in that big corporate world, you don't. It probably raised some eyebrows because they're not real sure.
Right.
They're not real sure.
yeah,
what
and they're like,
So-
who is this guy that's even doing? Is he a part of the
Backwoods
cartel
Mafia.
or what is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever you get that first big order from Duke Energy,
Yeah.
how excited were you?
Oh, I was stoked. Yeah, 100%.
I
It was
bet
crazy.
300 hats. So this may be a dumb question, but an embroidery machine, like, is that one hat at a time? Or?
Well, so you can get them different. So they come in single heads, or you can get 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 15. Yeah, I think you can even get like custom orders. Somebody was telling me one time they saw one that was custom made at like 50 heads. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
it's like 50 hats at one time.
yeah, no,
Oh.
we can't do that. I'm saying they had like
Yeah. So the one you had at the time when Duke Energy gave you that,
It was a 6 head.
six. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. I don't think I've ever seen an embroidery machine.
Oh, yeah.
But you brought up how you feel like God really blessed you and your business during COVID,
Right.
and so I wanted to bring up your faith.
Sure.
How has your relationship with the Lord influenced the way you make decisions, like in your business, and how you
Yeah.
navigate all that?
Yeah, so there's a verse in Colossians that says, whatever you do it heartily unto the Lord. And so I think that when we realize that we're not working for men trying to please men, but we're working to please God, it brings a different level of accountability and a different level of, okay, I got to step up my game. I got to make sure I'm doing what I'm saying I'm going to do, and fulfilling this, and yeah, just trusting and yeah, and ultimately, and when this is one thing the Lord's really dealt with me on, is it's not even my business, it's His business. I'm just a steward of it.
Yeah.
It's not, the customers aren't mine, the money's not mine, the hats aren't mine. It's just resources to how can we glorify Him. Yeah.
Well, and I know when I remember seeing you as a young man, Landon, taking your Bible, and you would do the devotionals and be very vocal. And you're a marketing guru in and of yourself, but you would really you didn't segregate and never have your business from your faith. The people who do business with you, they know how you believe, they know
Right.
who you believe in and your faith in Jesus Christ, and then I know you've done some speaking and some devotional. I've seen some of your devotions, and I just can't help but to believe that the Lord's pleased with that. What does it say? He who is ashamed of me before men, I'll be ashamed of
Right.
Of him before the Father. So I think your boldness there has been I know it's been an inspiration and an example to many, many others in this community, and I think it's also probably resulted in the Lord blessing you, what you put your hand to.
Yeah, He's been very, very good, very merciful. Yeah, and it's interesting on that note of sharing your faith and that kind of stuff. Anytime, I'm sure y'all been in the same situation where you're in a conversation, you're trying to figure out how to share the faith or reference the gospel, and you're like, how do I do it? Because you don't want to be weird about it, but you're trying to interject and get going. And then anytime that I've not been bold, it's like the regret's huge. But anytime you do make a statement or reference the gospel or share the gospel, whatever, it's always like a burden lifted. Like, okay, I know I did the right thing because ultimately I do want to please the Lord, not men. But that there's a weird fear there.
It is,
Yeah.
but once you step over it, though, it's liberating. And I remember when I started, goodness, over 20 years ago, when I started Blue Water, I remember right where I was in my living room. I got on my knees, had no idea what I was doing or what I was getting into, but I remember the prayer almost verbatim as how I prayed. I said, Lord, I want to start this business, but I want you to be my business partner, my leader in this. I cannot do this without you. And I felt like the Lord honored that prayer. And I know you've you've done the same. And obviously, I'm a big believer in honoring the Lord with as He blesses us financially, to pour that back into into our local churches and into ministry in accordance with how the Bible tells us.
Yeah, investing in the kingdom, and
investing back into it, and I think when you start doing that, it's undeniable. There are literally millions of stories, millions of testimonies of people who are faithful with their finances, in tithing to their church, and how the Lord has then turned around and used that to bless them back.
Right.
And I mean, there's just it is undeniable. And the sad thing is, a lot of times what I've seen, or a lot of times the people who are struggling financially, a lot of times, if you dig into that, a lot of times they're not tithing to the church. And I think as a believer, we're commissioned to invest back into the kingdom. And when we do that, we put we put the Lord, it's actually concerning that, it's the only verse in the Bible where the Lord says, test me in this area and see what I can do. And so really, when you talk about Dave Ramsey, financial peace, prospering financially, sometimes the key to unlocking that is to give.
Right.
It's almost a paradox. It's almost a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not even the number of which you give, but it's just the heart behind it. That, as far as you may have a guy that gives $10 million, but if he's worth $1 billion,
that's right.
But versus the woman whoever gives $10, but literally that's her last $10.
Well, we could talk about finances and money all day long, but really what you have is what finances are an indicator of. Is where somebody's heart is.
Right.
And it's not our
where
money.
Your treasure is, there your heart is.
That's right. It's not the money.
That's right. It's the
but
heart.
God
the
wants
love
our heart.
That's right.
And He knows that if He has our
That's
heart,
right.
then we take the approach of, like you said, we're just stewards of our businesses. We're just stewards of the money that He's blessed us with. It's already His.
Right.
And then so
one thing you said that I relate to was how it's kind of like weird sometimes, or like a strange feeling whenever you want to share the gospel, but like you're kind of like that before you do it. I relate to that. There's several like instances I can think of where like I was like, I feel like I need to share the word with this person. I'm like, oh, I'm a little scared.
It's weird, the fear that comes.
But you were so right. Like there's been times where I didn't do it, and that feeling was so bad. Yeah. And then there are the times that I did do it and I followed the Holy Spirit and what He was leading me to do. That feeling was great. But
well, again, and I think, like I said, I think what you've done and your boldness with your testimony, you're being an example to people who are far older than you and been around. So keep doing that. When I see what you're doing out there, it inspires me to up my game. Well, to get out there and do the same thing, and you start talking about our ability as business owners in this marketplace to make a difference for the kingdom. We have the ability to do it. Yeah. And so thank you for what you're doing.
So going back to Backwoods Mafia and American Threads, what story are you trying to, or what message are you trying to send through those companies? If that makes
message
sense.
From like a gospel standpoint, is that what you're saying?
No, just in general, like with your company, like what's the story you're telling with those two companies? Ooh. Like I know it's an apparel brand, but just like, I don't think I'm asking my question right. What am I trying to say?
I think I know where you're coming from. So like with American Threads, typically people tend to not look down on it, but like at first question, like, or just have a low view of apparel. Like, it's just hats and shirts kind of a thing. I guess that's a good way to put it. But one thing I realized about a year ago was that, yes, it's just hats and shirts, but we're really helping build brands and helping build companies. Like our logos, like when they leave our shop, making sure they look good and are representing that other company well, because that affects how they look when they show up on the job site, or whenever they hire someone, or whenever they, pass out their hat as a business card. And that then helps them grow their business, to hire more people, to give their current employees raises, and that affects their kids' Christmases. There's all these different dominoes that apparel plays a factor in. And no, it's just one small domino, but it has a lot of trickle effects as far as in how it does, affect.
I hadn't thought about that. So yeah, with what you're doing, which I think every business in Wakulla County needs to be, calling you and saying, hey, Landon, let's see what we can do. But what your point is that the high quality products that you're providing, it's not just growing Backwoods Mafia and American Threads. You're actually promoting.
We can help others. It's what it serve others.
It's helping. Yeah, that is a great point. And I think on the customer service level, and this may have been where Molly was getting, you're doing something different. There's something about what you're doing, because you are in an incredibly competitive field, and your market share is growing and growing and growing. I mean, you're going head to head with some of the big boys and outperforming them.
That's what I was about to say. I know you earlier you were saying how it's an saturated market and stuff, but the difference, even though it's like oversaturated, like a lot of people are making hats, the quality of you can tell the difference between a good hat and a bad hat.
Right.
Like you can order a hat online through Amazon, and then you get one of American Threads hats, and it's just like not the same. The quality of the content is like crazy good.
Yeah, well, one thing we've worked on the last year, because this has been a really big struggle of mine, or just the company until this point, we've finally gotten a lot better, is when we hired a couple employees, and I could go down a huge rabbit trail here and get all off on tangents, but to sum it up, basically, for a while there was no like actual good systems and processes of how do we process orders, how do we communicate proofs to make sure the customer is getting exactly what they want. And so the last year has just been focused on creating like systems to make sure the customer has a good experience, to make sure that nothing's slipping through the cracks, to make sure that the customer, if there's a due date, it arrives on time. How do we communicate so that everybody knows that, all those different things. And so that's been the biggest challenge in the last year or two, but really now that we finally are on the other side of that, has been the most fulfilling, just because it's like, I feel like, which we're very small. I mean, we have there's 2 full-time people and 2 or 3 part-time, but the fact that everybody's on the same page and knows what's going on, and I'm not just the only one that knows about an order, and so everybody can, because it's a team effort. Like I'm not doing this. I mean, all these different people are contributing and working hard and doing all this, and so the ability for Cameron to know what's going on with the production and know he can go order goods and without me even knowing, so that the customer still gets his product on time or whatever it may be. That's huge.
So let's talk about Wakulla County. You start a business. It's opening up a business and trying to get on the big stage from a small town can be challenging. Has its challenges. So you have what's been some of the best things, or maybe some of the challenges even in starting your journey to get to where you are?
Yeah, I think the coolest part is in a small town, and this way it's a double-edged sword. It can go both ways, but if small town, everybody knows everybody. The world is small in itself. I was talking to a guy last week, and he was saying you're 6 it's like 6 points away from anybody you wanted to get in contact with. And he was like, if you wanted to talk to Putin in Russia, you could get a hold of DeSantis. DeSantis could call Trump, and Trump could get to Putin. Not that he would ever listen to me, but like the point is, you can just draw these lines of whatever. And I was like, that is so cool. And so if you can do that, I mean, in Wakulla, it's probably 2 people.
That's right. Yeah,
it's super small. Yeah. And so the beauty of that is you can meet people and network and get to know people, and they can do business with you. And you can all that stuff.
And right here, people get behind. People love each other here in this county. And I know we've got some young. A lot of young entrepreneurs. I know of an entrepreneur. He's in middle school, and he's starting his he's trying to start a little brand and doing good. And I think Wakulla County embraces that. We get behind our young business owners that are trying to do something, and so that's what I love about this. So hey, so tell us real quick. Give us an example of, people don't fully realize what goes into doing what they may think is just you just punch a button and it's just a money making machine what you have, but it's not quite that easy, is it? I mean, give us an example of
like the late night orders, packing orders, all that stuff. Give us something funny. Like what have you had to deal with?
Okay, I'll give you two scenarios. So a couple years ago, I had a sewing machine. Well, I still have it, but we sew each leather patch by hand, and so this sewing machine looks like it's from the 1950s. Like it's this old school looking, sewing machine. And this was at the first week of July, and the second week of July we go to the World Deer Expo in Birmingham, and we set up a booth there. And so I had all these leather patch hats to sew for this event. And 2 weeks before the event, something happened with one of the gears inside the sewing machine, and it messed up really bad. And so I'm like calling people, kind of trying to find a sewing machine. Can't find one. It was quite the disaster. So
so you had an order that you had to fill, but you didn't have
we had no way to sew it.
Okay.
And so if you call other people that do, let's say I called another American Threads, standard production time is for leather 3 to 4 weeks. So that's out the window to get stuff for this event. Anyway, so I found this guy in Perry, Georgia on Facebook Marketplace that had a sewing machine similar to mine. And at this point, by the time all this goes down, I'm calling people. We're now a week before the event. And so I called this guy. My truck was in the shop. And so I took my grandpa's truck up to Perry, Georgia, and picked up this sewing machine and came back and stayed up to 1 a.m. trying to catch up. And so that was quite the nightmare. And then the second instance, and this goes back to a small town, a cool aspect of a small town. And this was 2 months ago. So this is a Monday. So we had a 6-set embroidery machine. I'm getting our new embroidery machine delivered on Tuesday. All right, so that's coming Tuesday. It's Monday. And I'm spacing out in the back of our shop how we can make room and be more efficient with our space and whatnot. And this is an old building. This is the original, the drugstore from 1953.
It's where you're at
That's
now,
right
across from
That's right. So it's a really old building.
Courthouse.
And there's this really old sink in the corner that I've been meaning to get out this whole time I've been there, but have not done it. And so I walked in that morning and was planning on not taking it out then, just look at it and see how well it was attached, get an idea. Anyway, it was so brittle, I accidentally bumped it, and the PVC pipe broke at a joint about 3 feet back, and water just begins pouring into the office. And so my regular embroidery machine, original one, it's over there. I got inventory. I was rather in panic.
Yeah.
But at first I was like, it's not going to be too bad. I'm going to run to the road, turn the water off, and we'll be good. We got this. Run to the road like a dummy without pliers, thinking I could turn that with my hands. Couldn't. I'm like, oh my goodness. I run back inside, grab pliers, run back out. It still won't turn. I'm like, oh no, I need vice grips. Run, grab vice grips.
Water's
pouring in.
How far away from your embroidery machine is the water?
15 feet. But it's just, the embroidery machine's on wheels, so I had a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And so I run back with vice grips that still won't turn. Okay, so the guy that cuts my grass there at the office was turning the corner at the light and saw me sprinting. And he pulled in. He's like, something must be going on bad. So he pulled in to check on me, and he's like, what's going on? So I explained. So at this point, water has reached the embroidery machine and starting to flow to the front. It's just not deep yet. It's just you're following, the gravity. And so he grabs his stuff, WD-40 pliers, and he runs out there, and I just dive in to the water where it was spewing out of the pipe. and got completely soaked and plugged the hole with a t-shirt and screwdriver and sat there for about 15 minutes while he got the water turned off and walked into Gulf Coast completely drenched. And they were like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "It has been a morning." But we got it. So that's a cool part of a small town.
People
they help.
You need to put that T-shirt in a frame.
Yeah,
and,
that's
as
right.
as a reminder. Okay, so quick question, then Molly. Then we got something we're going to move into that you're going to like. I'll go ahead and forewarn you. She's going to put you on the spot with some questions. This is the what do we call it?
The lightning round.
The lightning round. But first, okay. So I mentioned young entrepreneurs out there. You are an example. People look up to you. There's young teenagers right now who know who you are. They're looking at you. They want to one day be where you are. What would be your advice to them?
Don't look at me, look at Jesus, and work hard.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. That is awesome. So, okay, so we've talked about kind of the history, kind of what you've been, how you got to where you are, your mindset. And that's really what I wanted our listeners to hear, to kind of be able to peel back the covers a little bit on Landon Turner, and so they could see who you are on the inside. So your faith, obviously, your faith and your business are so intertwined together, and I think that's awesome that you give, God the glory, give God the glory and the honor for helping you get to where you are. Molly, I know you had a question you wanted to ask Landon something along these lines.
Yeah. So what's one scripture that you always go back to, or you keep coming back to when business feels overwhelming, or just?
So I would probably say, this is kind of a cliche verse. It's pretty popular, but Proverbs 3:5, where it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." And just the idea of we don't know exactly what the future holds. Like in the moment of COVID, how do you understand that? That was chaos.
Yeah.
But looking back, I didn't understand it at the time, but looking back, I can see where God used that.
He had a plan.
That's right. And so just because I don't understand it, I mean, what kind of God would it be if we could understand everything he was doing? But he's above our ways, so yeah.
And he can take the worst of situations, and that was a tragic time period.
It was 100%.
But he can take the worst of situations and use those situations for good, and with whoever he wants to, and you're a product of that. All right, Molly, rapid fire. You ready? Landon, you ready?
Landon, are you ready?
I'm ready. Do you promise we'll still be friends after this?
That's right. We'll be friends.
Go ahead.
Okay, so basically the lightning round is I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. You want to answer like lightning.
Okay.
Answer as fast as you can, or but if you have to think for a second about your answer, that's fine too.
Let's do it.
All right, coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee.
With creamer?
Yes.
What kind of creamer?
How do you say it? It's not Chibottle. It's
Chobani.
What's Chobani?
You told me about that creamer. Yeah. Okay, deer hunting or turkey hunting?
He's stumped.
That's rough.
Gotta pick one.
To all my deer hunting friends, hate to leave you, but turkey hunting.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
I want to be an early bird. I that's my goal. I want to be an early bird that doesn't snooze. Yeah.
So, which one are you currently?
Early bird.
Oh, okay.
But the temptation to stay up late and, watch a John Wayne movie or something's tough.
So what's your dream collab? Who would you love to see wearing Backwoods Mafia gear?
Ooh, Michael Waddell.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's awesome, isn't
awesome.
it? But hang on, Molly. I saw him in the airport not too long ago.
Really?
Yep. I was in the
I don't know who that is.
I wouldn't expect you to know. But I'm just teasing. He's a famous but saw him in the airport coming up the escalator. He was having lunch. I went up and had a conversation with him, talked with him for like 30 minutes. He is a cool guy.
Yeah, he's very down to earth. I've met him at Nashville, NWTF show, which there's like a whole line of people.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You're not talking to him long.
But
he's just real down to earth. Funny story. So this last year at NWTF show, we went to the Grand Ole Opry the night before the show. And this guy came on stage and he was singing some country song. And I looked forward, and there's this guy, like third row from the front, just I mean, just like bobblehead, the whole song. I'm like, man, that guy's getting into it. And he turned his head, and it was Michael Waddell. And I was like, that is so cool. We were at the Grand Ole Opry with Michael Waddell. That's crazy.
Wait, so did you see Post Malone?
Uh-uh.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm confused. But what happens at the Grand Ole Opry? That's singing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he sang. I'm not dumb. He sang.
Post Malone sang.
Yeah, he did. He's been singing country. Okay, anywho, back to lightning round. What's your go-to hype song?
Hype song, Thunder by Imagine Dragons for like an actual hype song.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Or Eye of the Tiger. That's more classic.
That's
more classic.
Eye of the Tiger. You can't beat that.
If you were a superhero, what would your power be?
Fly.
That's a good one. So what is the most Wakulla or Florida thing you've seen while running your business?
Like redneck thing?
Yeah, like you're like only in Wakulla.
Oh man. Let's come back to that one.
That's actually the last one.
That's the last
one.
So. Oh man, I
kind of your story is in line with that.
Yeah.
Your buddy seeing you running.
I mean,
crazy.
I get stuck a lot in the woods. When we're out there dog hunting, we get stuck a lot. Brandon, my video guy, can attest to that. Well,
I saw this one thing the other day, maybe on Snapchat or something, but I think it was on the Okalotney River. Or, I don't know, but there was it was like a house. It was like a house. No, it was a truck, but like it was floating like a boat.
really?
It was like a truck boat.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
I've seen those. I've seen the amphibious vehicles.
Oh, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us, take just a minute. I want everybody to be able to know where to find you, how to get a hold of you, if they want to look into American Threads or they want to look into Backwoods Mafia. Tell us where people can learn more about what you're doing, where they can order products or have a consultation with you. If there's a business out there that wants to talk with you, where do they need to go? What do they need to do?
Yeah, so if you want some hunting apparel, you go to backwoodsmafiagear.com. And then if you have a business and you're wanting to expand your business through custom apparel and make your guys look sharp, you can go to AmericanThreadsUSA.com. Or if you're here local, you can stop there right across from the courthouse, and we'll be happy to meet with you and come up with some ideas and mock-ups, and not just make hats or shirts, but really just deliver almost a branding strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's awesome to me is you're right here. I mean, right here. We're not ordering from China.
Location, super
that's
cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Right there across from the courthouse. It's awesome. So.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Landon. This has been inspiring and fun, and hopefully you'll come back on the podcast soon for
Thanks
part
for
2.
having me. This was a privilege. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Landon. We're gonna do this again, and I tell you, just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next time.